I feel like in more of a Caribbean type of culture, not mine per se, because like my parents would never think it was okay or sweep anything under the rug. But there are circumstances or stories I've heard of certain family members would like to, upkeep that type of respect. Like, oh no, her father never did this, or that uncle never did that. Just a sign, like just sort of like a pride. Especially people who are in the church and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. And they're afraid of having their family looked down upon or ruining their reputation. I find like, yeah, definitely they sweep it under the rug,
I can't say it's certain cultures though. I can't say that.
Yeah, like I know my culture definitely, like I'm Arab and we do not sweep that under the rug.
Like once we're in it, that's when we'll know. Like for me, my family definitely would not. Actually, I went through something where my parents had to make the decision to cut somebody off. My parents are musicians, so they had a band. And musicians kind of can be weird sometimes. So I had one of their players do something weird to me, and I told her, and she cut him off completely that second because I went to her and I said, this just happened to me. I'm not gonna go into detail, but I could. But yeah, she cut him off completely, no questions. She decided to believe what I was saying, and I've never seen him ever again. Never heard him, his name,
and I think
nothing.
in like cases like this, like you can't really deserve like a second chance. Like it's like you know what you're doing when you're doing it, so it's like you can't say, oh, I was like intoxicated or I have a mental illness. Like you know what you're doing, so I definitely think it shouldn't be swept under the rug.
But what about when the aggressor is someone like your dad or a stepdad or
That's
like
not your family if they're doing
what? I think
No,
it
it's
can
your
be
father,
50-50
like,
though. You hear all
know
the
what I'm
stories of like people who, like kids who do speak up or someone does speak up and the family defends them, and then you do hear cases of it being brushed under the rug until something crazy happens, like the girl snaps and kills the guy or something like that.
Depends on the person and their
Depends
confidence.
on how you, exactly,
You know what I mean?
how
Like,
you feel about that person in your life.
Exactly.
And if they would come to you and lie to you about something like that, or if you felt like they were so unimportant that you would let something like that slide.
Yeah, but when it gets into the depths of the Me Too movement, there are women that accuse men of it that actually didn't do it in the first place. There are.
So what do you feel about Bill Cosby? Like, do you think he did it?
I sure do think he did a little bit of it, but sis, you should have spoken. It was relevant.
But
now
like, and
all of
then-
a sudden,
That's what I'm saying.
you want to be in
like,
your feelings. Like you
don't
lived
know.
60 some odd years,
like,
whatever, however long it was.
I think that's the first layer that people think about, but you have to think about like, because it's a movement now, that they're coming out now to support people that might happen
that
tomorrow.
sounded so unfeminist
No,
of me.
not
but
even, but everybody thinks it. You know what I mean?
Okay, so then what
Not
about
even.
like
Everybody thinks
when-
that at first, but like to think
Yeah.
a little past it, I think it's a good thing to think.
So what
that,
about like that celebrity type of like
Yeah.
when girls are like throwing themselves like these guys and
that's
it's
a
just
whole
like,
other world. Like I can't even imagine.
like then they want to say,
Yeah.
oh, he sexually assaulted me,
Yeah.
or like the guy is the aggressor and then he just expects certain things because he's in
'Cause
this
he's-
type of
That guy. Yeah.
celebrity where
Yeah.
he feels like like in regards to that when I mentioned in regards to the Caribbean culture, like I feel like for example, like people in the Caribbean culture are very patriotic, very proud, and like things when it comes to like sexual assault or any type of abuse, they feel like they don't want like the community to know about it. They don't want people in the business, what happens in this house stays in this house, that sign everyone has up in their house. And I feel like that's where it comes when they don't really sweep it under the rug, but they try to just keep it within like, it's a family matter, like let's deal with it within the family. Don't go outside and talk about what's happening in our homes outside. And when it comes to like a family member who's a sexual assault or an aggressor, you don't want your family to take on that type of heat or that type of portrayal in the community where you just look down upon.
I definitely have shared with a couple people, my cousins. I'm close with my cousins, my sister, a few friends. But I've never felt like they were like, oh, well, are you sure he did that? I can do like a summary of the story. So basically when I was in grade 8 in 2008, You know, I was chilling in my mom's room on the computer, on MSN, you know how it goes. And her band member comes up to the only bathroom we have in the townhouse. It's a really small space. So the bathroom is in the middle of the room I was in and my room. And my room is always messy because I was a kid and I didn't really clean up my room too much. And I left the door open. So I see him trying to go to the bathroom, but I notice him going in my room and I'm like, what? What is this guy doing? Like, he has no business in my room. So I kind of like peek behind the door and I see him pick up an article of clothing and put it to his face. And obviously you can kind of guess what article of clothing that is. It's kind of gross to say, but yeah, so I closed the door quickly and that's enough for me to be like, this guy's disgusting. Let me go tell my mom. So I call her and my aunt that was also in the band and I told them what happened. And right away they called him up, they paged him and they kicked him out of the house and I never saw him since. So yeah, whoever I tell, I don't really mind telling because it's, you know, something that happened to me, you know? And it's not the biggest thing that could happen to a female. I know there's a lot worse, but you know, it's something. And hopefully that can encourage people to come forth if that happened to them. Hopefully right away, because I think that's better to just, you know, while it happened, you tell your truth and the person has to deal with the consequences.
Okay. Long story short, if you're with a guy and he has the nerve to be like, oh, you better do X or Y, and then you're like afraid to not want to do it with him, so you do it anyway, when you're a fool, because he don't have to like you. He's not the only man on this earth. You will be okay. But I wish a man would. Because he would find out real quick how replaceable he is. Like, how corny is that? How you gonna force somebody to do something with you? Just shows me how much like a bitch you are. Like, you don't get what you want. I don't need you. Peace.
So I just want everyone to know that if you've ever been sexually assaulted or sexually abused, that you're not alone. This goes for men and women. You have a voice and you shouldn't just bottle up your feelings about it and hide it because you're ashamed or you're afraid. Everyone needs to understand that sexual assault is a major thing and it should not be something that should be swept under the rug.